Wonderful afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming. Give yourself a big round of applause for being here. And apologies, I seem to be the only speaker here who is using video. We're obviously not prepared for that. This is usually the video I play before going on stage. I speak at small events that I hold myself. I speak at such events as this one for Propertyguru, where I think we have about almost 100 people here. That's fantastic, but I've spoken at even bigger events before that I can just... where's the slide now? Can you remove some slides? Or? Okay, apparently... No, okay. Oh, here it is. Okay, so I'm speaking on big stages in this world together with some people you might potentially know, like Tony Robbins. Who knows Tony Robbins? Right, we spoke to 5,000 people, so that's quite amazing. So I love sharing my message, and you know, I'm helping people how to invest in property. That's what I do. That's my job, so to speak. So let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Jochen. If you pronounce it Jochen, that's okay too. I always say it's my Chinese name. Yes, I'm a professional property investor, which means my job is I look for properties, I invest, and I get money out of that. So I don't have a 9-to-5 job. And I also have nothing to sell to you here. I'm not going to sell you any property like maybe some of the other people do. So Propertyguru invited me to this event just to share my experience here with you. And so that's what I'm going to do for the next 45 minutes. Someone is listening, huh? Okay, excellent. Yeah. So I've also recently published a book about property investing. So I'm an author as well, where I put also my knowledge in, so I can help more people in order to, because not everybody can attend my events or my classes that I'm running, so I put everything into my book as well. So it's an exciting journey that I've embarked on. And I recently had this book launch here in Suntec City, where I was on you see that screen, I'm sure you know it. That's the largest HD screen in the world. So that was quite an exciting journey. And who here would like to have money growing on trees? Right? So that's kind of what I'm teaching people. Not literally, obviously, but how to make a constant cash flow like this tree here on the screen that keeps producing money over and over and over and over and over again, forever, with little effort. So, and a little bit specifically, obviously, pertaining to Malaysia is what I'm going to share here with you today. So did you know that probably only 5% of the people in the Western world, by the time they reach retirement age, so you're still far away, you still have time, but some are closer, only 5% actually are financially free. Financially free meaning you have enough passive income from doing nothing to sustain your lifestyle, to pay all the bills without working, right? And I've seen some statistics specific to Singapore. I don't have a slide for that, but I usually use it in my other bigger events, that the average lifespan of the CPF savings that people in Singapore achieve is about 6.7 years, I think, right? So if you pay all the bills from the money that you have by retirement in CPF, it lasts you less than 7 years. Of course, they don't give it all to you, so because they know you're going to spend it, right? So, but if you want to be one of the 5%, you have to invest in property, right? Property is, in my opinion, the best investment you can possibly make, and that's probably why you're here today, this afternoon, because you're interested in the topic. And 80% of the people in this world who are wealthy have made their money in property. There's many different ways how you can make money in property, which I'm not going to go into today. You can buy, sell, you can invest, you can develop, you can transact, you can get passive income, etc. Right? So there's many ways how you can achieve that. But what I'm sharing here with you today is because you're all, who here is an investor in this room? Who already bought property before? Okay, quite a few. Right, so I'm going to share with you today what's important for an investor in general, and then I'm going to put this into perspective on Malaysia, because we of course have the Malaysia property show here this weekend, and how you can derive some strategy out of that in order to be a profitable investor, right? You don't want to be just an investor, you want to be a profitable investor. So what you can do is what I'm going to talk here today. So as an investor, I'm a professional investor. The key thing, one of the key things that's important for you is the numbers, right? It's not how beautiful the property looks or whether it's yellow or red curtains, it's the numbers, right? And which numbers specifically, I'll share with you in a moment. Then, equally important is of course location, right? As I say, the most three important factors in selecting a property are location, location, and location. Right? That's critical. And I'm also going to give you some tips from my personal experience, which locations in Malaysia are probably good to invest in, which one maybe less good. Some of you might not agree, and it's fine. I'm not looking for your approval. I'm just sharing my experience. And thirdly, due diligence. That's what a lot of people forget. That's why they lose money in property, right? Because you get caught by surprise by, you buy a property from a very small scale developer, a two-man show, and halfway down the road they go bust. If you had checked before, you would have known, right? So you look for their reputation. And so I'm going to share also a couple of things with you, how to do your due diligence so make the right informed decision. So let's start with the numbers. There are three numbers that are in particular important when I look at property, evaluate property. The first one is the return of investment. Right? That means how much do I get out of my investment. And that basically tells you the efficiency of the capital. The more efficient you use your capital, the more deals you can do, the more money you're going to make in the long run. The second is the yield. Yield is if you hold your property and get rental income, right? If you flip your property, you buy, sell, of course you get a cash, a one-time cash. But if you invest for the long term, which is what I typically do, you look at rental yield, right? How much yield does my property give me, which is basically the income you get, the rent, compared to the value of your property. In different countries, that's different. In Singapore, does anybody know how much average yield you get in Singapore? When you invest in property?
3%.
Yeah, about 2-3%, yeah. So it's very, very low. In Malaysia, you have, it depends where, but maybe 5 to 6, I would say, percent. Obviously depends on the property. So it's at least more than double than in Singapore. And thirdly, of course, then my cash flow, right? How much do I get every month? I have to make sure that ideally I want to be cash flow positive, right? Meaning that my rent should be higher than the expenses that include the mortgage payment and the property maintenance that you have to pay for the condo facilities and all that. I want to get money out, so I get paid, right? Because that's the money I live off. And that's my job. All I do is I collect cash flow from my properties. I find new properties all the time, and that's all I do. And I know that these three numbers, ROI, yield, and cash flow, are the ones you need to look at when you select property, right? And if the numbers are good, then you can proceed to the next step, which is due diligence, which is my talk number 3. But before that, I go to the second point, location, right? So which location should we look at when we buy properties? Firstly, in general, you would always like to have a location that are popular areas, right, with high rental demand, the high resale potential. Because if you buy property, even though it looks so nice in the brochure, but it's somewhere ulu, and nobody wants to rent, nobody will buy for it later, then how much is the property really worth? Who knows the difference between price and value? Okay, price is what it costs, yeah? Let's say 500,000, whatever, ringgit, dollar, yeah? That's the price. Value is what you can actually get, right? If you can resell your $500,000 property for 600, it's worth 600. If nobody wants to buy it and you have to sell for 400, then it's actually only worth 400, right? So we look at the value of the property, and it's always better in areas where you have high rental demand and where you have good resale potential, right? And where specifically in Malaysia, that is, in my opinion, I'm going to share with you a little bit later. But that applies to any country, right? Whether you invest in Singapore, you also probably don't want to buy investment property to us, no? Nobody can rent there, right? So then you would want to look at least mid-sized cities, not small kampong, right? Or big city, obviously. Especially those with fast-growing population. Why is that so? Anybody has any idea why I look for population growth?
Because you need to buy new properties.
Yeah, higher rental demand, right? So I'm sure more people coming in all the time. I can always rent out my place easily. Then you would want to choose places with good infrastructure, right? Infrastructure means bus terminals, MRT or LRT station nearby, maybe hospitals, schools nearby, right? This is always popular with people who want to rent or buy your place from you later. So that's one thing you should look at. And typically, in most places, I would recommend to buy somewhere in the city center, the city center or near universities, where students might be a potential to rent from you, as well as beachfront property. Beachfront is always a good deal also because people like the sea, people like beach, right? Beach property, maybe for own use even in the future. So that's what I look for when I look at properties in any country, really. Not only specific in Malaysia or Singapore. And when the Street Smart University asked some financial experts what is the best advice they've ever received, so some of these, this guy was one of them. You also see probably some other people, Adam Koo, and so my advice to them was do your due diligence. Right? Just do some background check on what is it you're buying, right? What is the location? Is it a developer? Is it a good investment? Right? It doesn't take very long to do that, but if you just buy spontaneously on impulse, which I see a lot of people doing, because it looks so nice in the sales brochure, then potentially you get into trouble because you bought something which is not rentable or not resellable in the end, or the developer was a two-man show and you went bust halfway through and then you're probably not going to get completed and then you have trouble, right? If you do your homework, you'll be fine. And it's not difficult. So, what specifically I look for when I do due diligence? Firstly, if I buy from a developer, look at a track record, right? How many projects have they successfully delivered in the past? And if they put a good track record, good sign, right? Not a guarantee, but a very high likelihood that the next project is also going to be good, because they want to keep the track record alive and not get a bad reputation. Then, whether they have the license to sell, right here in Singapore, you need to have a real estate sales license in order to sell property. So if their license to sell is fine, because they're regulated by the CEA, the government, and they make sure that these people only sell approved stuff, and that's a good sign. And also whether the developer is financially sound, right? A big stock listed company or whatever is fine. But like I said, the two-man show that might not be around again tomorrow is probably not somebody I would buy for. Then the property itself, what you have to look out for is whether there's any burdens, right, in the title deed. If you buy new property, like at this launch here, it should not be the case, but if you buy an old existing property, a resale property, the previous owner might have burdened the property on the title deed and so on and so forth, so check for that. Then the area itself, right? Look at the area. If possible, you know the area yourself is fine. If not, then maybe get somebody else to live for the area whether there's any downsides to it, right? Maybe the I've heard stories, this is not myself, but from other investors in Bangkok. You know, they get sold like a nice property. They say whatever, 8th floor, 8, very nice for the Chinese people, right? And lucky number, but they didn't check. And later, when the property was completed, they found out that exactly in the 8th story, like this high drain is running right outside the windows. Every 2 minutes. Not a good vibe for you. So check your area, your location of the property, and if it's okay, then you can proceed. Rentability, I already mentioned, right? Look at rental demand in this area. You can look at, I mean, there's so many good websites now. Of course, here we have Propertyguru. Yeah, you can have a look at the website first. How much in this area other already existing apartments are renting out for? Then you get a rough idea how much yours would also rent out for. Right? As well as the resale potential, same thing. Look at how much they're selling. Similar property in the same area for at this moment. That gives you an idea about resale potential, right? And if all this is good, by all means proceed. We've done your homework and it's okay. I mean, in my course and also I teach a bit more on that, but this is the highlights that I've taken out of that. Just the message to you, do your homework. So in order to succeed in investing, there's 3 things that you need. Firstly, knowledge, right? That's why I'm here to share with you my knowledge today, so you're a little bit better educated than you were before. That's why I run my investment classes as well, to educate people in property investing. You need the opportunity, right? Just knowledge alone is useless. Only knowledge you put into practice is useful. So you need opportunity. But here in this show you have, I don't know how many, but a lot of different opportunities in order to invest into some property that can eventually make you money. Which is the right one for you? I don't know. I cannot recommend one over the other. Like I said, I'm neutral. I'm not selling property, but check it out, see what suits you, and take these opportunities that you think is right for you. And lastly, take action. Right? How many people do you know who got rich by thinking about it? Nobody. Right? You actually have to take action and actually do it. And that's where I see a lot of people fumbling. Yeah, they think about it, they want it, but they don't do it. But if you know what you're doing, if you have the right knowledge, you find a good opportunity, take it. Right? That's all the advice I can give you. Take it. So, why I think Malaysia is a good investment opportunity still these days. Has been around for many years. We got obviously a little bit of a currency issue right now, but that should not deter us, and I'll tell you later why. So, of course, a lot of investors like to see their property, right? I buy a lot of property in the UK also, which I've never seen, where I've never been. But for many investors, I've been more comfortable to go there and see, so KL or Malacca or whatever. Just a few hours away from here, right? So it's proximity to Singapore, you can go and see. Malaysia, minus the recent oil price decline, has pretty stable and good economy, and a very strong domestic demand. Domestic demand is also something that you should look out for in a country that you invest in, because if it's only all foreigners buying, it's not a very good sign, because maybe tomorrow the foreign investor goes somewhere else. But if the demand comes from domestic fuel, the own people buying in their own country, that's a good sign. Malaysia has that. It's also the 3rd largest recipient of foreign direct investment in ASEAN, so a lot of money coming in. It's a very business-friendly environment, a lot of tourists coming, bringing dollars in. It's a pretty safe place to be. And especially it's very easy to buy property in Malaysia. The process, I mean, is more clear with lawyer and all that getting involved, so you have the security that don't do monkey business. Also quite easy to finance property. Are there any Malaysians here? Yeah, okay, great. I mean, you guys can get even 90% in bank loan as Malaysians, so you only 10% for the property. Singaporeans, you can get 70 or 80%, depending on the bank. You can even own land, freehold land, which in many countries, including Singapore, foreigners cannot do. Thailand also cannot do, but Malaysia, boleh, you can. So this slide you can probably not read very well, but these are some economic indicators whereby you see that I mean, inflation is quite low. The foreign direct investment has been increasing over the years. The base lending rate, right, which is the interest rate you have to pay for the loans, which the bank based the loan interest on, has been very stable. So all this is good for investors. Yeah, I already mentioned the domestic supply and demand, domestic demand, then it's still comparatively cheap, right, in Malaysia. Buy property there compared to many other places, not only Singapore, but also other Asian countries. I'll show you some concrete numbers in the next slide. But it is rising, so I think it's still a good opportunity to make money there. Rental yields are reasonable, they're not fantastic. 5–6% is not fantastic, but it's way better than Singapore. And maybe Philippines or Thailand can get a little bit more, 7% or so, but still pretty reasonable, so there are great opportunities. If you look at the property prices compared to other countries, Malaysia is the second from the bottom. Only Indonesia is cheaper, Philippines, Thailand, Taiwan, India, Japan. More expensive on top of course Singapore and Hong Kong. So when is the best time to buy property, you might ask? Well, it's now, right? It's always now. We can't buy in the past, but we also don't have to wait in the future until whatever event happens, right? I mean, any old day is a good time to buy property. Because if you wait too long, there's like this agent says, if you want something more expensive, I can show you the same property again tomorrow. So one example, what I personally have bought, so I'm not only talking about it, I do it, right? This property in Cyberjaya. Oops. Yeah, this one up here, one of these bungalows. This is my financing, my legal documents, just the evidence that I'm actually doing it and not only talking about it. So where can we put this in practice? In my personal opinion, this is my opinion based on my research, and I know probably the previous speaker will not like what I have to say, but I don't care, I'm neutral. Maybe the next speaker will like what I say, so I'm not here to be liked, I'm just here to share. So where I would not buy property, in my opinion, is Iskandar. There's a huge oversupply in Iskandar. They're building so many properties there, and a lot of China developers, if you buy property somewhere, they give an Iskandar unit for free. So that guy got it for free. If you want to resell your property, and he got it for free, you compete with him, you're going to lose. Right? So, and I think the Malaysian government has big plans there, but we know how the track record, right? It always takes a bit longer for them to get going. So Iskandar is something I will not touch for sure. You can if you like. I'll take questions later. Right, that is my opinion. So the previous guy obviously had a different opinion. Huh? So where would I buy property in Malaysia? Is always has been, and most likely always will be, KL, obviously. Yeah. And where in KL? Okay, so basically, if you draw a circle around KLCC, 2 or 3 kilometers, City center, what I shared earlier, city center, excellent location. Direct next to KLCC is pretty expensive by now, but if you just go in either direction, maybe 2-3 kilometers away, this is still, I think, good opportunities, prices rising, and good infrastructure, high rental demand. So this is definitely something that I will still invest in KL City Center. And then lastly, where I also think is still a good place is Penang. Li Ka-shing once said, if you want to make money in property, always go to islands inhabited by Chinese. So which islands do we know that are inhabited by Chinese? Singapore, another one? Hong Kong, exactly. Where are the top? Yeah, Thailand, exactly. And yeah, so Penang also has a lot of Chinese and there's a good property market. You can get nice beachfront property, what I said earlier. Beachfront is always a good thing. People love sea view and all that. Just make sure you get a sea view side, not the other side of the tower. So that's this area that I would recommend from my research, from my opinion. Like I said, you can like it or not like it, you can have different opinions, it's fine, but that's what I think. Then another strategy, which I think a lot of you know already, is leveraging, right? So even if you have the cash to buy the property, don't use all your cash. Leverage. I show the power of leverage. If you put a bank deposit at 1% for 20 years, after 20 years you get a whopping $123,000 back, which is compounded already. You know, we invest, we don't take out interest, we reinvest as an interest rate. So, and by then, because of inflation, it's worth less anyway. So bank deposit is probably not a good choice. If I buy a property, that gives me a rental yield of 6%, which is about there in Malaysia. And I compound this after 20 years, I get about 320 or $25,000 back, which is pretty decent return. But if my $100,000, I don't buy one property, I buy 4. Pay down $25,000 each and get $75,000 loan. And I pay 3% for my loan, and I still get only 6%. And I have to pay 3% to the bank, which now you still get 1 or 2. Here in Malaysia, about 4 or plus. What do you think, after 20 years compounded, how much money you're going to have? Any guesses? That's okay. 1.6 million. Right? Because of the power of leverage, you multiply your money times 4, you can get 4 properties that give you the return, and this assumes only rental yield, not the price appreciation of the property itself yet. Hopefully in 20 years it would have gone up quite a bit as well, but that's not the point here. So leverage is something that definitely we need to do as investors. Right? You can only get financially free if you borrow money from other people. Other people could be the bank or other investors. So leverage is something you need to do. Now, what recently happened, of course, we see in Malaysia is the decline of the oil price that has affected the economy. I drew up these charts in Singapore dollar. Usually you see the oil price in US dollar, where now we have just about $34 per barrel, and just more than a year ago was $100. I translated it into Sing dollar, so I can compare it to the oil, to the Sing dollar versus ringgit exchange rate. So it's both in Sing dollar, so it's comparable. So if you look at these charts, do you see any similarities? Right, so the oil price, of course, very much affects the Malaysian ringgit, the currency, and I don't see the oil price going up significantly anytime soon. It fluctuates a bit, 30, 34, 32, but it's not going to go back to 100 anytime soon. So Malaysia will probably continue to have economic issues, which I think, as for the housing crisis, is okay, but for the currency, you have to be a little bit careful. It's an opportunity or a threat. always both. Because if I knew where the ringgit is next year, I wouldn't be here. Right? I would be billionaire. So nobody knows. It is an opportunity, but you have to be careful and manage the risk, because it's also a threat that it goes down further. So that's why my strategy tip number 3 is, manage your risk. Manage your risk. Do your due diligence is part of your risk management. But also, I would say at this moment, because I'm not that positive on the ringgit, I don't think it will go down much further. I mean, oil is basically now at the almost production level. Right? It costs about $28 to produce a barrel of oil and it's selling at 30, so it cannot get much cheaper. So I don't think it will go down much further, but I also don't think it will go up a lot in the future. So how to manage your risk that is very simple. If you finance, you leverage your property, do it in ringgit in Malaysia, not in dollar in Singapore. Right? So if you pay your deposit a couple of percent in Singapore, it's fine. But then the loan portion that you take out, just take it in Malaysia. It's very easy to get loans in Malaysia, even as a foreigner, especially the Singaporean. If you're Malaysian anyway, you can get 90%, so that's nice. So how does it work? In terms of the documentation and the whole process is very similar to Singapore, but for the property we don't have any ASD, SSD, TDSR, all these funny things we have here. It's quite straightforward in Malaysia. So foreigners, up to 70% is easy to get. I heard cases where some of them got 80, but I'm not too sure whether they can get 80, but 70 should be quite possible. And obviously it depends on the bank and the salary and all that, how much they will give you. So don't over leverage, but do leverage within feasibility. So I mean that's basically the measures that I wanted to share with you, and really I want to encourage you to take action. Have a look at the booth here, or if you want to sign up for my class, you can also I'll have a small table out here. You can come and talk to me. In my class, I share all these things that is relevant for property investors. There are different success criteria, many different strategies, how to buy, how to find, how to manage your property, and also the psychology. Because ultimately, if you're an investor, it's all about your mindset. For me, a property is a box that makes me money. I don't have to like it, I just have to like the numbers that are shared everyone. Right? With good ROI, high yield, due diligence, check okay, and good cash flow, I buy. And if not anymore, I sell. I don't like my properties. They're just boxes that give me money. Right? So that's how an investor thinks, and that determines the success. That's why I put it in my course. So in case you want to come, I have some free events on 23rd and 26th of March. I'll be outside if you want to sign up. Just put your name, it's free. Then we have a bit more time than here today to share more with you. So with that, I conclude.